My family mocked me at my dad's funeral, saying, "You get nothing. You worthless failure." My brother Jason even announced to everyone. Dad always said she was the family disappointment. But when the lawyer stood up with that sealed envelope ... and my father's final video message started playing, Jason's face went from smug satisfaction to pure terror. Because in the next 58 minutes, I'm going to show you how my dead father got the ultimate revenge on his manipulative son. And how I went from inheriting nothing to becoming the owner of a $50 million empire while my brother, well, let's just say $500 doesn't buy much of a future. My name is Sarah, and this story begins 25 years ago when I was just 8 years old. My father, David Chun, built Chen Industries from the ground up, a construction and real estate empire that would eventually be worth over $50 million. But success came with a price I didn't understand until it was almost too late. My brother Jason was 5 years older, and from the moment I could walk, he made sure I knew my place in the family hierarchy. Dad doesn't have time for your stupid drawings, Sarah, Jason would say, ripping up my artwork. Real business people don't waste time on fairy tales. But what Jason didn't know, what none of us knew, was that Dad was watching. Always watching. I remember the day I won the state art competition when I was 12. I ran home, clutching my golden ribbon, so excited to show Dad. But Jason got there first. "Dad, Sarah's teacher called. She's falling behind in math again. Maybe you should ground her from art class so she can focus on real subjects." Dad looked at my ribbon, then at Jason's report card, straight A's in business and economics. "Jason's right, sweetheart. Maybe it's time to focus on more practical skills." My heart shattered that day. But 20 years later, I would learn that Dad had kept that golden ribbon. He kept everything, but what Jason didn't know was that Dad had been recording everything for the past 2 years. And those recordings were about to change everything. When I turned 18, I secretly applied to the Rhode Island School of Design. It was my dream school, and against all odds, I got in with a full scholarship. I was going to tell Dad over dinner, but Jason beat me to it again. "Dad, I need to talk to you about Sarah's situation," Jason said, sliding a folder across the table. "I found these college applications hidden in her room." "Art school, Dad. She wants to waste 4 years and probably hundreds of thousands of your money on finger painting." Dad picked up my acceptance letter, the one Jason had stolen from my room. His face remained neutral as he read about my full scholarship, my portfolio scores, the personal letter from the dean. "Sarah," Dad said quietly, "is this what you really want?" My heart pounded. This was my moment. "Dad, I got a full scholarship. It won't cost you anything, and I promise I can make a career out of this. Please, just give me a chance to prove she's living in a fantasy." "Dad," Jason interrupted, "while she's playing with crayons, I'm here learning the real business. I'm ready to take over operations, expand into the commercial sector, double our profits. Isn't that worth more than this?" Dad looked between us for what felt like eternity. Finally, he spoke. "Sarah, I've worked my entire life to build something real, something that matters. Art is ... art is a hobby. Jason's right. You need to think about your future practically. But Dad, the decision is made." I watched Dad tear up my acceptance letter, piece by piece. Jason's smile was triumphant. But what I didn't know was that Dad had made a photocopy first. What I didn't know was that he'd already called the school. What I didn't know was that my father was playing a much longer game than any of us realized. The funeral director handed me an envelope marked "Open only after the service." Inside was a USB drive that would destroy Jason forever. I ended up at State University majoring in business administration because that's what Dad wanted. But I never stopped drawing. Late at night, in my dorm room, I would sketch and paint, holding on to the one thing that made me feel alive. Jason, meanwhile, was already working at Chen Industries every summer, learning the business from the inside. Dad would bring him to client meetings, introduce him as my successor, and Jason would call me every week to remind me of my place. Dad closed the Morrison deal today. Jason would say $50 million contract. He said I'm ready to handle my own projects next summer. How's that pottery class going, Picasso? But during my junior year, something interesting happened. My business professor, Dr. Martinez, pulled me aside after class. Sarah, your portfolio project on sustainable construction was remarkable. Have you considered applying for the Morrison Innovation Fellowship? It's a partnership with Chun Industries, actually. I stared at him. Chun Industries? But that's my father's company. I know. Your proposal for eco-friendly housing developments is exactly what the industry needs. With your family connection and this level of innovation. I worked for 3 months on that application. Research, designs, financial projections, sustainability. Models. It was the perfect fusion of my artistic vision and business acumen. I was going to surprise Dad, show him that I could contribute to the family business in ways he'd never imagined. The day before the fellowship deadline, I printed everything out and left it on my desk while I went to grab dinner. When I came back, my roommate looked confused. Sarah, your brother stopped by. He said your dad needed those papers urgently for some business thing. He took that whole folder you were working on. My blood turned to ice. As my father's voice filled the funeral home. Jason tried to grab the laptop, but the lawyer stopped him and said 4 words that changed everything. I called Jason immediately. Jason, where are my fellowship papers? I need them for tomorrow's deadline. What papers? I don't know what you're talking about. My roommate said you took them. The Morrison Fellowship application. There was a long pause. Then Jason laughed. Oh, those papers. Sarah, I had to save you. From yourself. That application was embarrassing. Eco-friendly housing? Sustainable development? Do you have any idea how much that would cost? Dad would have been humiliated if Chin Industries was associated with that hippie nonsense. Jason, give me back my work. The deadline is tomorrow. I threw them away, Sarah. I did you a favor. Trust me, but Jason didn't throw them away. 3 weeks later, I was scrolling through the university newspaper when I saw the headline, Local Student Wins Morrison Fellowship for Innovative Sustainable Housing DZ, and photos showed Jason shaking hands with the Morrison CEO. The article quoted him extensively about his vision for eco-friendly construction. Every word, every idea, every design element was mine. I confronted Dad that weekend when I came home. Dad, Jason stole my fellowship application and submitted it as his own work. Dad looked up from his newspaper with that expression I'd learned to dread patient disappointment. Sarah, Jason won a prestigious fellowship that will benefit our entire company. Are you really going to try to diminish his achievement with these accusations? They're not accusations. I have drafts, research notes, everything enough. Dad's voice was final. I'm proud of Jason for taking initiative. Maybe instead of looking for ways to tear down your brother's success, you should focus on your own studies. I left that house feeling more alone than I'd ever felt in my life. But what I didn't know was that Dad had been in Jason's room the night before. What I didn't know was that he'd seen the original papers with my name on them. What I didn't know was that every conversation in our house was being recorded. The will reading was about to begin. But first, Dad had one more video message. This one was addressed directly to Jason. 2 years after graduation, I was working as a graphic designer in Portland, trying to build my own life far from the family drama. That's when Dad called with the news that changed everything. Sarah, I need you to come home. I have stage 3 pancreatic cancer. The world stopped. Whatever complicated feelings I had about my father, he was still my dad. I quit my job and moved back home to help care for him during treatment. For the first time in years, Dad and I spent real time together. During his chemo sessions, he would ask me about my art, my dreams, my life in Portland. He seemed different, softer, more present. I'm sorry. I never understood your passion for art. He told me one afternoon as I sketched him during treatment. I was so focused on building something lasting that I forgot. Beauty is lasting too. It's okay, Dad. I understand why you made the choices you did. Do you? Because I'm not sure I do anymore. Meanwhile, Jason was circling like a vulture. He moved back into the family house ostensibly to help, but really to position himself for the inevitable transition to power. Dad, while you're focusing on treatment, I should probably take over more of the daily operations, Jason suggested during one family dinner. Sarah's been great with the caretaking stuff, but someone needs to handle the real business decisions. Dad looked at Jason for a long moment. What kind of real business decisions? Well, the Morrison project is expanding. They want to partner with us on 3 more developments. I think we should seriously consider my sustainable housing initiative. I nearly choked on my water. Your sustainable housing initiative? Jason smiled that same triumphant smile I'd seen my whole life. Sarah, I know you think you had some ideas back in college, but this is a real business opportunity now. Dad, I've been developing these concepts for years. Dad's voice was carefully neutral. Tell me more about these concepts. For the next hour, Jason outlined every single detail from my stolen fellowship application. The eco-friendly materials, the sustainable energy systems, the community integration plans, everything. He presented it with such confidence, such ownership, that even I started to doubt my own memories. When Jason finished his presentation, Dad nodded slowly. Interesting. Very detailed. Almost like you've been working on this since... When did you? Say you started developing these ideas. Junior year of college, Dad. Remember, right around the time Sarah was struggling with her business classes, Dad's eyes met mine across the table. For just a moment, I saw something I'd never seen before. Rage. Pure, controlled rage. I see. Well, Jason, it sounds like you've put a lot of thought into this. When the lawyer announced the inheritance amounts, Jason's wife actually fainted because the number was so shocking. Dad's single quotes S condition deteriorated rapidly over the next 6 months. During his final weeks, he spent most of his time in his home office, supposedly organizing his affairs. Jason assumed he was preparing the business transition documents. Dad's finally ready to make it official. Jason told his wife, Lisa, over dinner one night. I was bringing Dad his medication and overheard from the hallway. You'll be CEO of a $50 million company. We can finally get that house in the Hamptons, send the kids to private school. What about Sarah? Lisa asked. Jason laughed. What about her? Dad knows she's not business material. She'll probably get some small trust fund, enough to keep buying art supplies. The real estate empire goes to someone who can actually run it. I knocked on the office door to give Dad his pills. Come in, sweetheart. Dad looked frailer than ever, but his eyes were alert. On his desk, I noticed something strange, a small digital recorder, and a pile of what looked like legal documents. Dad, what's all this? Just getting my affairs in order. Sarah, I need to ask you something, and I want you to be completely honest. With me. Of course. Do you still have any of your original work from college? Any drafts or notes from projects you worked on? My heart skipped. Some of it. Why? I want you to bring me everything you have. Every sketch, every note, every draft. Can you do that? Dad, is this about the Morrison Fellowship? Because that was years ago. And just bring me everything, Sarah. Promise me. I brought him 3 boxes of my college work that weekend. Dad went through every page, every design, every note. He scanned documents, made photocopies, and organized everything into careful files. Dad, what's this all about? You looked up at me with an expression I'd never seen before, pride mixed with profound sadness. I'm making sure the truth comes out, sweetheart. Even if I'm not here to see it. But the biggest twist was still coming. Because Dad didn't just leave me money. He left me something that would give me power over Jason for the rest of his life. Dad passed away on a Tuesday. Morning in March, I was holding his hand when he took his last breath. His final words to me were, "Remember, sweetheart, truth has a way of revealing itself. Just be patient." The funeral was everything Dad would have wanted, dignified, well attended, with representatives from every major construction company in the state. But for me, it became the most humiliating day of my life. Jason appointed himself the unofficial host, greeting mourners and accepting condolences as if he were already the head of the family business. "Thank you for coming," I heard him tell Mr. Morrison. Dad was so proud that I continued his legacy with the Sustainable Housing Initiative. He always said I had the vision to take Chun Industries to the next level. During the service, Jason gave the main eulogy. And that's when he decided to publicly destroy me one final time. My father was a man who believed in hard work, practical thinking, and building something real in this world. Jason began. He taught me that success comes from dedication, vision, and the courage to make tough decisions. The congregation nodded. Respectfully. Dad wasn't always the most emotionally expressive man, but he was clear about his expectations. He believed in investing in people who could carry on his legacy meaningfully. I felt a chill as Jason's eyes found mine in the front row. Everyone knows Dad was disappointed in my sister's life choices. While I worked alongside him, learning the business, building relationships with clients like the Morrisons, Sarah chose a different path. Art school dreams, moving away from family, pursuing impractical interests. The room fell silent. I could feel hundreds of eyes on me. Dad told me personally, just last month, "Jason, you're my legacy. You understand what it takes to build something lasting." Your sister. Well, we tried our best, but some people just aren't cut out for the real world. My face burned with shame and anger. Lisa, Jason's wife, actually smirked from her seat. So today, as we say goodbye to David Chun, I want everyone to know that his vision for Chun Industries will continue. The sustainable housing project that I developed during college will expand. The partnerships I've built will flourish. Dad's empire will grow because it's in capable hands. When Jason finished, the applause was thunderous. I wanted to disappear, to run from that funeral home and never look back. But then something unexpected happened. Our family lawyer, Mr. Peterson, stood up in the back of the room. "Excuse me, everyone. Before we conclude today's service, Mr. Chun left specific instructions for a final message to be shared with all of you." He wheeled in a laptop and projector. Jason looked confused but not worried. After all, what could Dad possibly say that would change anything? The screen flickered to life, and suddenly Dad's face appeared, recorded just weeks before his death. 6 months later, Jason called me begging, but after what he did at Dad's funeral, my answer was simple: "Hello, everyone. If you're watching this, it means I'm no longer with you, and my son Jason has just finished delivering my eulogy." The room was completely silent. Jason's face had gone pale. "Jason, I want you to know that I heard every word you just said about your sister. Just like I've heard everything you said about her for the past 20 years. Dad's voice was calm, but there was steel beneath it. "You see, for the past 2 years, since my diagnosis, I've been recording our conversations. All of them. I have audio of you stealing Sarah's fellowship application. I have video of you presenting her work as your own. I have documentation of every lie, every manipulation, every cruel thing you've done to your sister while I wasn't looking." Jason tried to stand up, but Mr. Peterson gestured for him to remain seated. "But most importantly, I have Sarah's original college work. Every sketch, every business plan, every innovative idea that you claimed as your own. The sustainable housing concept that made Morrison Industries want to partner with us. That was Sarah's vision from her junior year of college." The room was so quiet you could hear people breathing. "Jason, you spent this funeral telling everyone that Sarah isn't cut out for the real world. Let me tell you what the real world looks like." The screen changed to show legal documents. This is Sarah's original fellowship application from 2019. Note the date, the signature, the detailed architectural drawings. Now, This is your fellowship. Submission from 3 weeks later. Identical content. Different name. More documents appeared on screen. This is the Morrison contract that you're so proud of. Sarah's designs generated $15 million in revenue for our company. Revenue that I reinvested grew and turned into the $50 million empire you assumed you were inheriting. Jason was now visibly shaking. Lisa looked like she was going to be sick. Sarah, sweetheart, if you're watching this, I want you to know how sorry I am. I spent your whole life believing that love meant pushing you toward practical choices. I thought I was protecting you from disappointment, but instead, I was the one disappointing you. I was crying now, but so was half the room. Your brother thought he was clever, manipulating situations to make himself look better, and you look worse. But he forgot one important thing. I built this business by paying attention to details. And the detail he missed is that true talent can't be stolen, only temporarily hidden. Dad's final message continued. Mr. Peterson, please proceed with the... While reading. Mr. Peterson cleared his throat and opened the official document. To my son Jason, who believed that money was more important than character and that manipulation was more valuable than innovation, I leave the sum of $500. This represents exactly what your integrity has been worth to this family. Jason's face went from pale to ashen. Lisa actually fainted and had to be helped to a chair. To my daughter Sarah, who I failed to appreciate during my lifetime, I leave everything else. The entirety of Chen Industries, including all current contracts, future projects, real estate holdings, and liquid assets. The total value of this inheritance is approximately $50.2 million. The room erupted. People were gasping, whispering, some applauding. Jason looked like he was going to vomit. But Sarah, this inheritance comes with conditions. First, you must implement your sustainable housing vision on a company-wide scale. Second, you must use the Morrison Partnership to expand into eco-friendly development nationwide. And third. Dad's single quotes S final smile appeared on screen. You must hire your brother as an entry-level assistant at minimum wage so he can learn what it's really like to work for someone whose success he can't steal. 6 months later, Jason called me begging, but after what he did at Dad's funeral, my answer was simple. Chen Industries had transformed into the leading sustainable development company on the West Coast. The Morrison Partnership had expanded into a multi-state operation. My eco-friendly housing designs were being featured in architectural magazines, and we had a waiting list of clients who wanted to work with us. Jason called me last Tuesday. Sarah, please. Lisa left me. I lost the house. I'm living in a studio apartment and working at a hardware store. Can't we work something out? I'm family. I thought about that 8-year-old girl whose golden ribbon got forgotten. I thought about the college dreams that got crushed. I thought about standing in that funeral home while my brother publicly humiliated me in front of everyone we knew. Jason, Dad left you a job offer. Entry-level assistant, minimum wage. The position is still open if you're interested. Sarah, come on. I'm your brother. Can't you? I'm your boss now. Jason, and the first thing you need to learn is that in the real world, talent and character matter more than manipulation. But the job starts Monday at 7 a.m. Don't be late. I hung up and looked at the architectural drawings spread across my desk, plans for a sustainable housing community that would house 500 families in affordable, eco-friendly homes. At the bottom of each blueprint was my signature and a small note that Dad had asked me to add to all my work. Truth has a way of revealing itself. David Chum, my father, finally got his revenge. But more importantly, I finally got my life back. And Jason? Well, he starts work on Monday. If this story taught you anything, it's that karma is patient, but she always collects. Have you ever had someone try to steal credit for your work? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed watching Jason get what he deserved, smash that like button and subscribe for more stories about justice, family drama, and the truth that always finds a way to surface. Remember, no matter how long it takes, no matter how hopeless things seem, truth has a way of revealing itself.